Welcome to one of the most listened to music news podcasts in the world, SGNP, with your host, Darren Sutherland. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, artists, and entertainers about their faith, family, and careers. This is information you will not find anywhere else on radio, web, or in a magazine, but only firsthand on SGNP.
75 or 80% of people have a Facebook account. I look at that and I'm just blown away that I can use a platform that is free to me and I can get my music to tens of thousands of people for free.
And welcome back to SGNP. Darren Sutherland here at the helm. Joining me as always from Sevierville, Tennessee, in the shadows of Dollywood, walking around, maybe in the dressing room, maybe in the cafeteria, is my co-host and partner, Arthur Rice. Arthur, how are you, my friend?
Hey, doing great.
You are up there in Sevierville today. I mean, you are at Dollywood today. I mean, I made that big introduction and all that good stuff.
Well, of course.
Of course. And sitting to my left is the historian, the notable one, Charlie Sexton. Charlie, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Darren.
Good.
This is going to be a great show.
It's going to be a fun show, and our producer Jonathan's in here. And Jonathan, just give me the thumbs up finger if everything's sounding good. That's good. That don't sound too good, thumbs up finger, but we'll just leave it at that. And our special guest this afternoon, and he is no stranger to social media whatsoever. He's probably the most watched individual in social media out there, in all the world, quite frankly. And maybe you've heard of him, maybe you hadn't, but he's became a good friend of mine. We've become like two teenage girls on the phone together, comparing things and what we do between SGNP and Fouch on the Couch. It's Legacy 5's bass singer extraordinaire, Matt Fouch, up in Somerset, Kentucky. Matt, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey guys, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for the invite. I'm thrilled to be with you all today. I'm sitting outside. I'm on my back porch. It's a beautiful day out here. So if you hear the birds chirping or anything, just know it is beautiful here in Somerset today.
Well, as long as we don't hear a gunshot, we'll be happy. How about that?
I don't expect that to happen, but we'll see where this goes.
Hey man, so Matt, just give us overall. You know, you do Fouch on the Couch. Everybody knows about that, and we'll talk about that in just a few seconds. But give everybody just a short synopsis of your background and how you got to be where you are with Legacy 5 today, where it all started, and how you got there now.
Yeah, so I grew up in a Baptist church, singing out of the Redback hymnal, listening to good preaching. I gave my heart to Christ as a child. I was around 7 years old. I started singing in church and choirs and everything like that. I started with a little church quartet with some friends of mine, and we sang a lot of the hits and the standards for gospel music back in the day. You know, one of the ones that people at the church always requested us to sing was Champion of Love. So I really knew the songs of the music. I didn't really know the industry, if you will. I didn't know there was a big genre out there. I grew up in Muncie, Indiana, but honestly, I had never really heard of the Gaither Vocal Band.
Wow.
And I was like 45 minutes from Alexandria, you know? So, I mean, I was right there. It was just, I'll tell you why. I wasn't just kept away from it necessarily. It was just, man, I had my mind on sports and all kinds of other things going on as a kid and a teenager, and it just wasn't something that was in focus for me. These guys in my little church quartet, they would just bring the songs in, and I was like, that's a cool song. That's got a great bass line in it, you know. I went to a few concerts as a teenager, about 3 or 4. I heard Gold City, I heard the Bishops, and I heard the Greens, and a couple other groups. And then once I got into college, it kind of all faded a little bit. And then in 2004, my buddy that I grew up in church with, he came to me and said, man, there's this group in Cincinnati. I've wanted to sing my whole life. Will you go with me and audition for this group? They need a baritone and a bass singer. And I was like, man, I don't know. I had a job as a teller at a bank. I was studying accounting. I was, just on my path of what I felt like I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I was like, man, I don't know. Okay, sure. sure, it sounds like fun. I'll go with you. So I went with them. I auditioned, and Matt Rankin of Sold Out Quartet hired myself and my buddy, both of us, and Sold Out at that moment went from a trio to a quartet, and we became Sold Out Quartet. I spent 8.5 years there from 2004 till 2012, and then in 2012 I had the great opportunity to join Legacy 5 and spent the last 6 years there. I'm thrilled with this journey that I never expected to be on. I'm thrilled how God has just laid it out before me, and I couldn't be happier doing what I'm doing and getting to represent God and the gospel and in this music, and I'm having a great time.
Arthur, you know what I thought of as he was telling his story about how he grew up and didn't know the Gaither Vocal Band, didn't know this industry existed, but yet was singing and having a good time. You know what song came to my mind as he was talking about that story?
What's that?
Sheltered in the Arms of God. He wouldn't have been here if he'd have known all that. What do you think? Hey, Matt, quick.
That just makes you want to be more a part of it.
That's right. Yeah. Matt, who was some of you, once you learned about gospel music and once you started singing gospel music, who was, and just not only gospel music, but musically, because you don't sing bass like you sing bass without having an influence in music, in all kinds of music. Who were some of your influences, not only when you were young in church, but in college singing and all through that time?
You know, Darren, I obviously, as a guy with I'm not going to say I've got this freak voice because I know it's abnormal for guys to have a voice like I have as far as for singing purposes. So I would gravitated towards the bass singers, obviously, and that's what I was doing. That's what I wanted to do. That was just what I gravitated towards. So what I did early on was I picked about 4 or 5 guys. Now, mind you, this was 2004 when I came on the scene. And so at that time, I didn't really know about Big Chief. I didn't know about JD. I didn't really know about London. And so, there's some of these guys that I hadn't really ever heard of. So I picked guys that were in the music at that time. And these guys are still in the music today. So I picked guys like Tim Riley and Jeff Chapman and Eric Bennett and Tim Duncan. And then I picked George Yance as well. And I listened to everything I could that these guys put out. I listened to all their quartet stuff, and I listened, if they had solo stuff, I listened to their solo stuff. And I just kind of came into my own as a singer, I felt like, because all those guys I felt like gave me something different, and something different that I liked about their approach to what they did. And then as I went on, I started listening to other singers. I listened to a lot of big band type of stuff. And then I started listening to Tennessee Ernie Ford and so all these different kinds of music and different things. But I really focused on those about 5 bass singers and their groups. And then I kind of took things that I liked what each of them did and kind of made it into my own style, if you will. I feel like I don't feel like I sound like any one individual. A lot of bass singers, they sound like this guy or they sound like that guy because that's the only guy they've ever listened to that wanted to be like, wanted to sound just like them. I picked 4 or 5 guys, and I feel like I kind of came into my own style.
Matt, when I look at music as a whole, a lot of times with bass singers in particular, I look at the secular world and I think to myself, man, how would a Randy Travis sounded singing with a quartet? How would Josh Turner sound singing with a quartet? Have you ever imagined a guy that sang outside the realms of gospel music singing in a quartet? Have you ever thought about that, or in an individual that pops up in your mind?
Yeah.
Who would you like to hear?
So you just mentioned Josh Turner.
Yeah.
That was one of the guys that I listened to a lot and I still listen to a lot of his music. And actually on my solo CD, I put one of his songs on there because he has some really good Christian themed songs. He'll usually put 1 or 2 on his albums. But the one guy specifically that I kind of think of is Trace Adkins.
Yeah.
If you've heard him do some bass stuff, there's a few things out there. And And one of them is, I think, Working on a Building. I think I've heard him sing. I think he's actually singing bass on that, if I remember correctly. But, a guy like that is someone that I think of that I'm like, man, it would be really cool to hear him up on stage at National Quartet Convention with, whatever quartet, to insert some quartet. The Kingdom Heirs, let's do that. I love Jeff Chapman singing, but I think it would be cool to have him up on stage singing with the Kingdom Heirs for a song at NQC. So, yeah, he's one of the guys I think of.
Arthur, nothing against our buddy Jeff, but you'd take Trace Atkins on an album, wouldn't you, to sell a few? What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of Jeff, man, he is awesome. And like I said earlier, Jeff is one of the guys that I listen to coming up. And the Kingdom Heirs, I would get every one of their CDs and I would listen to them, and I would obviously focus in on what Jeff was doing and everything. And I love their stuff. And like you said, though, I think Scott Fowler might even throw Trace Adkins on an album if he came around and said, "Hey guys, I'd like to do a few songs with you."
Hey guys, did y'all know that Trace Atkins sang in a gospel quartet?
No, Charlie.
Yeah. I just saw that online just a little bit ago, and somebody asked him, why did he sing bass? He said, because the girls love the bass singer. Is that right? Is that right, Matt?
I don't.
Be careful.
Not in my experience necessarily, no. But hey, yeah, I mean, that's cool. Was it, Charlie, do you know, did they do any albums? I would imagine they're records or something back there, or cassettes.
Yeah,
when he was singing in a quartet.
I just Googled it real quick, and it looks like they might have been called The New Commitment was the name of the quartet.
Did you ever sing with them, Arthur? You've been singing a long time, man.
No, I can't say that I have. I think I would remember his voice. Sure.
I'd say that could possibly be on Arthur's vast resume of groups he's been with.
There you go. Arthur, what you got?
I worked with Matt right after he came with Sold Out.
Yeah.
And I was doing studio albums for Sold Out at the time. And I guess it was right after you came. It wasn't too long after you came, was it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, Arthur, I think we started coming down and visiting with you and doing the albums probably around the time that we started going to NQC, I think. So probably 2006, 7, 2008, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
We talk about Trace Atkins singing bass, and we're talking about Google. You can Google Carrie Underwood singing a Brian Free song, and it's got thousands of downloads. What's the name of it, Charlie? Do you remember?
Goodness, I don't.
Anyway, she does a Brian Free song. So there's a lot of gospel artists that have country artists that have gospel roots that we're talking about in particular. Matt, let's talk a little bit about Fouch on the Couch.
Oh, yeah.
And your endeavors there. And, man, you've got to talk about everybody, I believe.
Man, it has been a fantastic journey doing. I'm gonna correct you here, Darren. It's On the Couch with Fouch.
On the Couch with Fouch. Hey, hold on, Matt. Matt, I got to stop you right there because I just looked at our time. Let us take a quick break, pay some bills. We'll come right back, and we're going to hear Matt tell us all about On the Couch with Fouch. Did I get it right that time, my friend?
You got it. Nailed it.
All right, buddy. Here we go. We'll be back with SGNP in just one moment.
Hey, I'm Karen Pet Gooch from the River, and you're listening to SGNP.
We've seen My Pillow on TV. We've heard them on radio. We've talked about them. Guess what? This is Darren Sutherland. I've just got a My Pillow, and it works. And their products are 100% made in America by Americans in the great state of Minnesota. You know what? Everyone deserves a great night's sleep, and My Pillow can help you no matter the circumstance. Call them today or visit them online at mypillow.com. And when you visit them online at mypillow.com, always use the offer code SGNP so they'll know you heard about us on Southern Gospel News Podcast. Or if you would rather call and talk to an individual in person like I would, their friendly staff is ready to help you. 1-800-338-2330. 1-800-338-2330. And make sure you tell them the offer code SGNP for a great deal. And for an extra special deal when you call, ask about the Premium Pillow Special. Everyone deserves a great night's sleep. I have a My Pillow. You should too.
Hi, this is James and Reggie
with Southern Gospel Point of View, and you're listening to the fastest growing podcast about Southern Gospel news and commentary
right here on SGNP, Southern Gospel News Podcast.
And welcome back to SGNP. Darren Sutherland, Arthur Rice up in Dollywood with the Kingdom Heirs, Charlie Sexton, and Matt Fouch with Couch on the Fouch. I just, that's what's great about podcasting, not radio. See, if I was still on radio, the program director would come in and scream his head off. Darren, you're just blistering all this stuff. Matt, tell us about On the Couch with Fouch. There we go.
See, Darren, here's the thing. I guess it really doesn't matter if you get the name right as long as you got Fouch and Couch in there somewhere.
Exactly.
Because that's the main two words.
Because that's all you got to Google this day and time anyway is Fouch and Couch.
Exactly.
Of course, I was calling you Fouch before I was calling you Fouch.
Whoa.
So.
Oh, we worked with him for weeks on that.
Let's not go there. Hey, I'll tell you, man, one of the funniest things is what you've just going with whatever name kind of came to mind with that. When people come up to the table, pretty much every night I get a person or several people that come up and tell me how much they enjoy the interviews and the program that I do and my posts on social media and stuff. And so when they do that, I always ask them, are you talking about the interviews? If they're not specific, I say, are you talking about the interviews? And they say, yes, I love watching those. You're Couch Fouch. I mean, they can never get it right either. No one, it's like hardly anybody can ever get it right. So when somebody says on the couch with Fouch, I say, congratulations, you won the grand prize. You got the name right. So you are one of the many, man, that have problems with it. But this interview series I started it about 6 years ago, honestly, and probably 7 years ago now. And one of the guys with Sold Out said, you ought to interview all of the guys in Sold Out Quartet, and we can put it on Sold Out's social media so that the people that follow our page can get to know us better. And they said, we'll call it, Fouch's Couch, and we just threw around some names when we came up with On the Couch with Fouch. So fast forward, we interviewed all the Sold Out guys from the questions that the Sold Out Quartet fans wanted to know about the members of the group. And then I did an interview with Clayton Inman and Aaron Wilburn, and that was it. And then I came to Legacy 5. And when I came to Legacy 5, I kind of put it on the back burner. And then about 6 months to a year into Legacy 5, I started thinking, man, I am with these artists way more now than I ever was when I was with Sold Out. I have a lot of great opportunities to interview a lot of these people, a lot of these artists that people really want to get to know. And so then at that point, I started thinking, okay, how can I actually turn this into a regular, monthly or several times a year, quarterly, whatever, program kind of in a way that I can then use social media and YouTube to help the fans get to know the artist more personally. And that's the whole point of what we do is that I want the interviews to just be a sit-down conversation between two people, just with people just watching this conversation of two people sitting on their couch talking. And that's what I try to do. And I think that comes across because most people, when they tell me they enjoy it and they watch it, I ask them, what's your favorite part? And they say, I just get to know the artist more personally than I did before. And so that's what they love about it, and that's what we're trying to do.
Matt, you pretty well hit on what I was going to ask, but just exactly how important do you feel that social media is today to Southern gospel artists and at all levels, even on maybe a local and regional level, but especially to the professional, to the people that seemingly may have already made it to the top? Things are changing, and just talk to us about social media for a little bit, the power of it.
Yeah, so I'm 35 years old, and I was in college when Facebook started, and MySpace was around then. And when I joined Facebook, it was the beginnings, and you had to have a college email address to be able to join Facebook. And within just a few years, it had just gone from a couple colleges to pretty much all of them, and it exploded. And so then it went public, and anybody could make a Facebook page, and it just continues to grow. I mean, I can't remember the percentage, but it's an extremely high percent. Something like 75 or 80% of people have a Facebook account, have a Facebook page. And so I look at that, and I'm just blown away that I can use a platform that is free to me, a platform that is free. It doesn't cost you a dime to be on this. And I can potentially get my message or my music, my whatever you're posting about, to tens of thousands of people for free. And that was early on. That's what drove me to really start using social media in a totally different way, because I looked at it, not that I'm necessarily an innovator, but I looked at it and I was like, I just started thinking, man, very few artists in our genre are using this platform to its fullest potential. And to be honest with you, I look at it today and groups are doing better, but I still look at it and say very few artists are using this still yet. Very few artists are using this platform to its fullest potential. And I feel like if it's free to me and I can get my message in front of thousands of people, it's worth a few minutes of my time to plan a post out and to get something out there where people can engage and interact with it. With that being said, obviously Facebook is making it harder for you to organically reach the people that are on Facebook, but still yet the fact remains, it is still free to be on there. It is still free to post, and you still have the potential to reach thousands of people or millions of people with what you have to offer.
Arthur, let me ask you this question from a historical perspective.
Yeah.
Who would have had the largest of the legends of old, okay? Who would have had the largest Facebook following, and who would have been the most active on Facebook if we were to mention Hamill, Younts, Eva May, folks like that? Who could you just see embracing Facebook and saying, man, look what they said about us. Man, look what they've done, our great promoter. You know I'm a huge Hovey fan, okay? And I know Hovey well enough to know that he would have mastered this thing to make the Statesman look bigger than life. What old gospel star can you think, Arthur, in your time of knowing these individuals personally, would have had a huge social media following or known how to work it or figured it out?
It had to be the Black Brothers.
Yeah.
That's I would think they would probably be more, probably even more so than the Statesman. They would be huge in it, I believe, because they were, that marketing thing was big for them anyway.
Yeah.
You know, them and the station, but I would almost think that Blackwood Brothers probably jump on it more quickly.
But James couldn't enunciate on Facebook like he could on stage, could he?
That's true. That's true.
But you know, guys, here's something, and Darren and I have talked about this, just in doing these shows and interacting with the artists. A lot of times you have to go through a publicist. I believe Hovey would have hired a publicist to have done his social media instead of doing it himself. But I believe James Blackwood would have picked up a smartphone and done it himself. I think that's the difference between the two.
Yeah, I think so too.
And Hamill would have handed the phone to Arthur and said, Arthur, answer these questions for me. Will you do that?
Somebody else. Yeah.
You guys, I think it's very important, and I would love to see more of the artists embracing it and using it for something more than an advertising platform. As far as just what I mean by that is, a lot of the artists and what we do, they simply use it as a place to post their schedule where they're going to be doing concerts and upcoming events, and that's about it. I would love to see the artists be a little more personal on it, but again, it's a preference thing, and a lot of people, they have to feel comfortable with sitting down and doing a live video or recording a video and putting it out there, or taking the time to sit down and write out a devotional thought or something personal to share, because that's what social media is so big about, is the personal aspect, and that's what people crave. That's what they go there for, and that's why they're engaging, because they want that personal connection.
It's a way, and we discuss this as a firm. A lot of people don't understand. We don't only just do this show. We've got an advertising firm, so we sit down with clients and individuals day after day after day, week after week after week, and we talk to them now about their social media and how they're being imaged. Arthur over there at Dollywood's got a complete staff that handles their imaging of Dollywood and how you guys are presented a lot of times through Dollywood. Now, I'm not talking Kingdom Heirs directly, because Jerry over there does that for you guys, but Dollywood, when they promote the Kingdom Heirs, they've got a full-time staff that does that, do they not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a huge thing nowadays. You're exactly right, Matt. You gotta have. There's I don't do as much as I probably should, and part of that is because I'm kind of a private guy, and it takes a different mindset to be able to do that, to let people in, and you really gotta want to do it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the next thing, you walk a fine line. Like if you're an individual like me, okay, we've got SGNP, Southern Gospel News Podcast, which got 8,500 members. Then you've got Darren Sutherland, the personal page, and Arthur, you and I are personal friends on Facebook. The SGNP page is totally separate from what I do personally. Now, anything I do personally is not going to be bad that's going to affect what I do on SGNP, but it all works hand in hand. People see all circles of your life in social media, and it's real important. And it can be a blessing or it can be a curse. I've seen gospel music artists, and I'm not going to name names, but make statements on social media that would make me think they came out of the 19th century, quite frankly, in their thought process. And I'm pulling my hair out from time to time thinking about that. Let me translate real quick. Fouch on the Couch. Me and Matt have talked about this. We're going to do this. Last month, we started our SGNP, Southern Gospel Music, social media rankings, where we ranked the groups by their Facebook, by their Twitter, by their Instagram, and their appearances on Southern Gospel News Podcast. They got points for that based on the amount of downloads and listeners they've got. We're going to add a Fouch on the Couch with Fouch segment. So what we're doing now is we're going back and we're compiling all the views that if a certain artist, from Gordon Mote to whoever you've had. Have you had Arthur Rice on yet on the Couch with Fouch?
Yes, sir. Arthur, what was that, 3 or 4 years ago, I think we were able to sit down.
Yes, it was in QC, actually.
We sat down with Arthur. We had a great conversation. There's probably nearly 50 or 60 interviews out there on YouTube.
Yeah, and me and Matt, as we approach the end of the show on the radio version, I just want to let people know that Matt and I have made a commitment to try to work closer together to partner Southern Gospel News Podcast and On the Couch with Fouch. So social media-wise, we're where we need to be, and we're leading the industry. Isn't that agreed, Matt?
Yeah, man. I have wanted to, in the past, I've thought about trying to figure out how to get On the Couch with Fouch to podcast. Mm-hmm. But in talking with you, and I think that if we can work together, I think we can bring. I love what you guys are doing. The ones I've heard so far have been awesome, and it really kind of mirrors in a lot of ways what I try to do with the sit down interviews for video. And so I think a partnership between us of On the Couch with Fouch with the podcast that you guys do, and then me helping you guys out by sharing your podcast with the ones that are watching on YouTube and Facebook. I think it's going to be great because it's going to just continue to grow the base of people that want to get to know these artists more personally. And that's what people want to know. They want to know the artist off of the stage. In addition, they love their singing, but they also want to know what they're like when they're not on stage. And that's what we're going to be able to bring them.
Folks, if you're listening to our radio show version of Southern Gospel News Podcast, we've got to wrap it up. But what I want you to do is, if you want to hear the extra comments that we're making, is go to the podcast section on your iPhone or on your Android, hit search out Southern Gospel News Podcast, or go online to www.southerngospelnewspodcast.com and pick that up, and you can scroll down and listen to the interviews. Matt, give me 30 seconds on how the people out there in the radio world can find Matt Fouch and Fouch on the Couch on the Fouch, or Matt. What do you just do? Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey guys, On the Couch with Fouch. You can find it on YouTube. Just type in youtube.com/Matt Fouch, or you can just search in YouTube On the Couch with Fouch, or just Fouch and Couch, like Darren said. You can also go to onthecouchwithfouch.com, and you can connect with me on Facebook at Matthew Fouch.
Thank you guys for listening. Remember, go to the podcast so you can hear the last 10 to 12 minutes of the show and hear some good information. And thanks as always for listening to SGNP.
SGNP is brought to you by Toccoa Falls College in Toccoa Falls, Georgia. For more information on TFC, call 706-886-7299 or visit them online at tfc.edu. That's tfc.edu. Since 1907, TFC, glorifying God through seeking and developing leaders who will impact the world for Jesus Christ.
And welcome back to the podcast-only edition of Southern Gospel News Podcast.
Ooh, yeah.
If you were listening on radio and now you've flipped over and you're hearing this, you heard a second commercial there, Jonathan, as we came back. And this is where Arthur and I and Charlie always say the bad stuff about people, Matt, when they can't hear, we can't put on radio.
I was about to say this is like super special.
This is
gonna be awesome.
We've just started this.
The B-side.
I'm gonna let my hair down now. Is that okay?
All right, let your hair down. Just talk plain to it. I've asked this question. I asked Jeff Chapman this question, and I'm going to ask every bass singer that I can talk to this question. And I've asked you this question before too. But and Arthur, I've asked Arthur this question. Charlie's deliberated this question. But when we think of bass singers, you mentioned them earlier: Big Chief, Jim Waits, London Paris, J.D. Sumner, Ray Dean Reese, even Tim Riley, Rex Nealon in his own way had their own character about them. Today's world of bass singers, Matt, for lack of a better word, don't have that brand, so to speak, or maybe they're not allowed, so to speak, to have that character.
Yeah.
What are we missing? What do we got to do to get that back?
Oh man, that's a deep question, because I feel like there are many things that go into that. I first off, one of the things I think of is many of the guys you just mentioned, they ran the group, or they were the MC for the group.
Yeah.
In one way or another, they were a face of the group. Now, I don't know, because I wasn't around back then. I don't know if that came just with time, where they did their time up front, and then they had the character before, and that's what helped them get to the point where they could start their own group, or they became the MC of the group. I'm not sure, but a lot of those guys you mentioned, it was J.D. Sumner and the Stamps. George was the MC of the group. Ray Reese has operated and been the bass singer and partial MC for the Kingsmen for many years. And Tim Riley, it was Tim Riley in Gold City for decades. Mm-hmm. And so I think that goes into it some. Also, I think that some of the groups today have gone away from that style. Now, you mentioned the Statesmen. Now they were smooth, man. They focused on the harmonies and stuff too. So it can still be done in that way.
Big Chief was awesome.
Chief was fantastic. And so a lot of the groups today, I feel like, have gone to it's not really asked of the bass singers to do that. It's more of we want to present a unified sound, a unified group, where it's more about the blend in the group than it is about any one person. And so I think there's many things that goes into it, but I agree with you. If you can find a median somewhere, depending on where you are in your group, whether you are a recent hire or you've been around for years, or you own the group or you don't, whatever, all of that, or the style of your group, if somehow you can find a median between doing what is asked of you or doing what needs to be done, and still yet somehow coming up with like you said, almost like a personality. I think that's definitely beneficial. And that's something that just being frank, that's something I kind of need to continue to work on. I feel like so far mine has been more off stage, because it's more of the, like we talked earlier, the social media, the interviews, things of that nature, the videos. That's kind of my thing. But as far as on stage, that's something I need to work on, is figuring out, okay, how do I bring my own personality to Legacy 5?
Would your wife let you grow one of those little pencil mustaches like Gene McDonald has, or the Big Chief has?
To be honest with you, I had facial hair almost my entire time was sold out. There was very few times when I didn't have some kind of facial hair, whether it was a full beard or a goatee or whatever. And I've only been clean shaven since I joined Legacy 5. So I don't think she would have a problem at all with some kind of facial hair going forward, if that was ever presented as an option for me to do again.
Arthur, I know we've addressed this question in past episodes of SGNP. What's your thoughts on the bass singer this day and time?
Well, I think the personality of especially the bass singers, it seemed to be more that way. Seemed to lean more toward the bass singers of old, had that personality. It's almost like the social media of today. When you had that personality of that singer on stage, the people felt like they knew more about them just because of that personality. So I almost feel like that's kind of my theory of that. It's they were using something to where people felt like they knew them better, and so I think that leans toward that. That was probably the social media of that day.
Charlie, your thoughts?
Well, I've just never really cared for bass singers that much.
Oh, that's rich.
No, seriously.
Well, that's all people want to hear when they come to concert. Is a bass singer and see how
but you got to remember, I was a piano player.
And care less about what stands in the middle.
Remember, guys, that's the same person that said earlier in the show that the women were all after the bass singers. Okay, so there may be some counseling that we need to get worked out.
Themes there.
Yeah.
No, seriously. As far as bass singers go, Darren, and I know this is something that you and I have talked about. I think there's some pretty influential bass singers outside of the traditional gospel music genre. Somebody that comes to mind, of course, he came out of the gospel music genre, but right now, just one of the most powerful bass singers. That's Richard Sturban with the Oak Ridge Boys.
No doubt. And Richard changed his brand, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Arthur, when he used to come out dressed to the nines every night, almost like in a tuxedo? And now that he's
the clean cut.
Yeah. Now he's 60, 70 years old, whatever age he is. I don't know what age he is. I had the opportunity to interview him one time, long time ago, and he's got a great voice. But man, he's looking younger than me. Yeah. So you're right.
That don't take much either.
Yeah. So anyway,
and I just want to add to that, Darren, is that what he was just saying. There maybe we can look at some of these guys that are in other genres, because right now you got a cappella music that is kind of blowing up the last few years.
Yeah.
And you got the rise of some of these a cappella groups that are coming to the forefront because of social media, that are coming to the forefront of music, and they've got bass singers that, I mean, obviously we're getting outside of the Christian music world, but they've got bass singers that are doing their thing, and maybe we can look at that and say, okay, how are these guys bringing that personality, their own style, their own character to what they are doing and what they're presenting? Because there are some guys like the guy in the country, Tim Fouch, I think it is, Home Free, I think they're called. He is almost kind of as far as in country music and stuff like that, he's almost become like a household name for a bass singer. A lot of people, they probably don't even know there are a bunch of other bass singers out there. All they know is this guy that sings with them. And so, maybe that's something we can look to, going off of what was just said, of guys that are outside of the gospel music world and just seeing how they're doing it in their circle.
Here's you an idea, Matt. You think he could pull this off, Arthur? Why don't you approach the Martins and say, hey, let me sing bass with you on one of your projects. And when they mess up, everybody can blame you. Is that the way it works?
When it flops, it'll be my fault.
That's it.
You know what, Darren? I've had the idea before, and I haven't done it because I'm not a soloist. But if I was a soloist bass singer, I think what I would do is I would go to the groups that are like the Martins, Selah, the Booth Brothers, Greater Vision. Go to these different groups and say, hey, would you be willing to let me record the bass part on one of your hit songs? I think that would be really cool, just to bring, and I don't know about necessarily putting together a full album, but putting together just some songs for people to enjoy. That, how neat would it be, I think, to hear My Name is Lazarus with the bass singer, or Blind Man Saw It All with the bass singer. I think that would be cool.
Well, the biggest gospel group any of us have ever heard up there in Indiana's basically done that. We won't go that direction and reveal that secret live on air, but the vocal band hired them a bass singer to help build there a little bit. And did they not? I mean,
is that it? I'm not for sure where you're going with that.
Well, everybody's just being real quiet on that. Mr. Gaither sings bass, okay?
Right.
But Gene McDonald helps him out from time to time.
Mike Allen.
Mike Allen helped him out from time to time. Is that not true? I mean, I'm not saying nothing wrong. Bill's great. He puts the best around him. But when he wants that bottom floor hit that he knows he can't hit, he brings in those guys to help him a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
And of course, Greater Vision kind of did that too with their quartets album.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Them and all of
and I think Gerald has said before that's been one of their that was a huge album for them. That was an extremely popular piece. And I what they did some different songs, but they didn't do their hits with the bass singer. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so I think it would be cool to hear a hit from the Martins redone with a bass singer on it.
Or Lazarus Come Forth with a bass singer.
Or a Karen Peck in New River.
Yeah.
When he's 3 days late, whatever.
Or the Magruders, I'm Going Home with Jesus with a bass singer.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that would be so cool to put that out there, and then people people would be able to say, okay, that's what that hit or that song or that famous whatever would have sounded like if that group were a quartet instead of a trio or whatever.
Matt, last
So
question, and
cool.
last question, we've got to get out of here because of time. What advice do you have for young bass singers coming along this day and time that want to sing Southern gospel music or contemporary music or any type of music at all? What advice would you give them?
So young bass singers specifically, what I know to tell them is what I did. And what I did was what I mentioned earlier. I sat down and I picked out 4 or 5 guys that I felt like all brought something a little different to the table. And I listened to those guys nonstop, and I tried to reproduce the tones, the style, the rhythm that each of them brought to the table. And I think if you do that, I believe that you will come into your own style. You'll come into your own singer. And then the other thing I tell people, regardless if it's a bass singer or not, I tell them all, networking is so crucial in what we do. And what anybody does, frankly, in life. Networking is so big and so important. And so if you will, I've had people ask me, say, what do I do to get started? I say, okay, here's what you do. You make a quality demo, and then you go to every single concert and event that is in your area, and you go up to people and you personally shake their hand and introduce yourself. And you get their email address if they'll give it to you, or their phone number if they'll give it to you, and you stay in contact with those people, because at the end of the day, you never know what relationship you create or able to build will end up one day being an open door for an opportunity for you as you develop your skills as a singer. And it's the same thing, especially for bass singers. You've got to have that network, because there's so few opportunities for bass singers, and because there's so many other family groups and, like we talked earlier, trios and duets and all these different things. But as a bass singer, you definitely have to have that network built. You got to have that quality. You got to be ever improving and doing better, but you got to have that network built of relationships for when an opportunity comes along, you are able to take advantage of that.
Matt, we appreciate it. Arthur, one quick thing. I know you've got to go, my friend. You're pushing the clock. Don't take this show out on Jeff too much today and make him sing bass all afternoon, okay?
He's a machine anyways. I don't have to do much.
Yeah, he is.
He's the consummate pro. Matt, we appreciate you joining us on SGNP today, my friend. Look forward to getting with you up at NQC and talking with you about other things, and excited to tell everybody about what's going on with On the Couch with Fouch and SGNP, and how we're going to be working together and putting some fun stuff out there. You agree?
Yeah, yes, sir, man. Darren, Charlie, Arthur, and Jonathan, right? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yeah, guys, thank you all so much. You guys have been great. I've enjoyed this conversation. It's been a lot of fun. You guys are doing something great here. I can't wait to see how it grows. And in this partnership that we're going to do, man, I'm excited to get SGNP in front of the On the Couch with Fouch crowd and help and us work together to grow our music to a new fan base and continue to give quality content to those that are already in our fan base. I'm excited about it.
We say it in every show. It's all about the gospel. It's all about the gospel at the end of the day. And
Absolutely.
Matt, got one quick question for you before we get off here, my friend. We asked everybody this. What's wrong with living right anyway?
Ain't nothing wrong with it, brother.
All right, boss. We'll talk to you soon. Arthur, Matt Fouch, great bass singer, my friend. You found a good one back in the day with Sold Out, did you not?
Oh, man. I first time I heard him, I thought, this kid right here's got stuff. And he's got, he's coming along. And every time I heard him, he got better and better. And I'm so proud of him, and just proud of how God has used him and just doing such a fabulous job.
Does he remind you of anybody in particular that you can think of in the past, Charlie?
I don't know. His voice is unique, and that's what I really liked about him. Is he, like he said, he kind of styled himself after certain, but he developed his own style.
Yeah,
and that's what makes him good. Is he sounds like, he doesn't sound like anybody else. He sounds like himself.
Yep, no doubt. Hey guys, we got to run. Arthur, thank you as always. Coming back next week, we'll have a great show and going to have a lot of fun as always. Charlie, I appreciate it.
Oh man, been a pleasure.
Been fun. We'll talk to you soon right here. Tell a friend. Share this podcast. Share it with your family, and leave us a comment in the comment section.
Hey, this is Tim Newton with SGNP, Southern Gospel News Podcast. We would love to have your group uploaded on our concert calendar page. Just simply email me at tnewton@bgadgroup.com to have all your concert and events promoted on our concert calendar page. This will be a huge boost in promoting your concerts and special events. Don't wait. Email me now at tnewton@bgadgroup.com and take advantage of this great opportunity. And hey, remember, what's wrong with living right anyway?
Paul Belcher Concerts Battle of Songs returns to the Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Saturday, November 10th, 6:30 p.m. with the Hoppers. The Triumphant Quartet.
Saved by grace. I've been saved by grace.
The Guardians.
Somebody pray and heaven pays attention.
And the Jordan Family Band.
My God is faithful.
Tickets on sale now. Call 800-745-3000 or at the Memorial Auditorium box office. The Hoppers, the Triumphant Quartet, the Guardians, and the Jordan Family Band. Saturday, November 10th, 6:30 p.m. at the Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Get more details now at paulbelcherconcerts.com.
Gospel music's largest annual event, the National Quartet Convention, is returning to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. See the Hoppers, Greater Vision, the Mark Trammell Quartet, Jim Brady Trio, Triumphant, Kingdom Heirs, Ernie Hassan Signature Sound, the Isaacs, Jason Kraft, the Gaither Vocal Band, and many more of your favorites all in one amazing week, all in one amazing place, the LeConte Convention Center in Pigeon Forge. Plus showcases including the Singing News Fan Awards, Gaither Homecoming Celebration, and Gerald Wolf's Hymn Sing. And speakers Dr. Robert Jeffress and Dr. David Jeremiah. The National Quartet Convention. See the entire schedule, get travel info including vacation packages and hotel information, and get your seats now at nqconline.com. That's nqconline.com. Or call 1-800-846-8499. That's 1-800-846-8499 for the National Quartet Convention 2018 at the LeConte Center in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, September 23rd through 29th. nqconline.com.
One night, one great concert. Paul Belcher Concerts presents a special Battle of Songs featuring the Spencer's Family Reunion.
We'll be glad we live for Jesus.
Saturday, October 13th, 6 p.m. at the Knoxville Civic Auditorium. You'll also hear the Cooks.
There ain't no praise. Gonna hold my body down.
The Primitive Quartet.
I have a place I can tell you about.
And the Kaufman. Pre-concert music from Knoxville's own Southern Gospel Quartet. Tickets on sale now. Call 800-745-3000 or at the Civic Auditorium box office. A Paul Belcher Battle of Songs exclusive with the Spencers, the Cooks, the Primitive Quartet, and the Kaufman. Saturday, October 13th, 6 p.m. at the Knoxville Civic Auditorium. Get more details now at paulbelcherconcerts.com.
SGNP is excited you chose to listen today. If you'd kindly leave a remark and rating in the podcast remarks section, we surely would appreciate it. Please share with a friend or family member. Look for us on Facebook, Twitter, and our new website, SouthernGospelNewsPodcast.com. And remember the Kia Summer Nights concert series, all 100% free, coming to a town near you. For more information on the concert series or to advertise your products, services, concert event, or new project on SGNP and reach a 100% guaranteed number of people in your area, call Tim Newton at 770-874-3200 or email him today, tnewton@bgadgroup.com. Let us geo-target our ads for you, something radio nor magazine can do.